Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast, formerly known as Her Story on a Plate. This podcast has always been a space for deep, nuanced conversations about food, body image, and the stories our bodies carry. But as conversations have grown, so has our mission.
That's why this is now the Body Peace Podcast, a name that reflects what we're truly here for, helping you step off the battlefield with your body and move toward more compassion, connection, and ease.
Each episode will bring real, honest dialogue with your hosts, me, I'm Jennie Kramer,
and me, Nina Manolson. We'll also be joined by guests whose personal stories and professional wisdom offer new ways of thinking, feeling, and being in your body.
We're so glad you're here. Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast.
So, Jennie, I wrote this newsletter about how women yank their shirts. I called it the shirt yank or the shirt tug. And we're together today talking about it because you immediately texted me and said, Nina, we've got to talk about this more. There's so much more to unpack in this. So that's what we're talking about today, is how we do that self-conscious shirt tug and what's behind it.
Yeah, and it's a euphemism, but it's about all different kinds of clothing tugging that we do, right? And it's sort of what's the thought that goes on while we're doing the tugging, right? Are we trying to have people not see some part of our body?
Yes.
Does it make us feel like we will somehow look different, smaller, narrower, thinner, better, younger? Who knows?
Yeah,
right? That little
fundamentally
shirt tug.
acceptable. Yep, that shirt tug fundamentally says I'm not okay the way I am or with my body showing. And baked right underneath that are the names that we are told about our body that make it unacceptable. Muffin tops, rolls, all those sort of aggressive name calling that we do to ourselves is, oh, I gotta cover my muffin top, I gotta cover my plumber's crack, I gotta, like, all that stuff.
Because of what other people will think.
Yes.
We think. We think they are thinking something about us, right? Are we sloppy? Are we slovenly? Are we lazy? Don't we see ourselves? Don't we know? Don't we know better? Thin is better, larger isn't. I mean, all the normal, usual, there's nothing normal about it, but the usual thoughts about weight stigma and about diet culture. And this is actually true in any size body. You could literally be in any size body and do the shirt tug.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because of that self-consciousness. But something you said, Jennie, that's so important to kind of yellow highlighter is that piece about what does someone else think. We don't shirt tug when we're home alone. I hope people are not shirt tugging when they're home alone, because
I tell you, Nina, I think there are people that do. I hope that everybody has a safe space where they feel safe and confident, right? And there's also this collective voice that's in our heads so often that people just can't get comfortable no matter where they are, even if the only other living thing in the room is your dog, who surely doesn't care, but they really don't feel comfortable.
Oh, I hear that all the time with clients. I don't even like taking a shower because I have to actually put my hands on my body and my belly is not the way I want it. And then I walk out and then there's a mirror, right? So it's true. We want people to have a safe and comfortable place for them to just be, but you're absolutely right. Many, many people don't feel comfortable in their body even when they're alone.
And let's put this in I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's put this in a context. You and I know this phrase called body checking, right? And those who do it know that phrase too. And body checking takes on a lot of different forms. And, I'm just going to give a trigger warning here for anybody who's listening who might do this. I'm going to name some ways in which that happens, right? There are people who do the shirt tug. There are people who take their thumb and their pinky and they put it around their wrist to see What size is it? Did it change? There are people who say, oh, my rings fit loose this morning. That's a good day. Oh, my rings fit tightly this morning. That's a bad day. There are
And there's
all
people who squeeze their belly, like
you
squeeze
bet.
the rolls
You
and
bet.
like aggressively. Body checking is an aggressive way of being in relationship with our body.
It
And it
really can be.
happens also at home, right when you're getting dressed and sort of like, that aggressive manhandling of self, but it also happens a lot. I see it walking down the street. Someone catches their eye in the window, in a mirror,
Mm,
and they're not looking and going, hey, beautiful, how are you today? They're like, oh my God, my butt. Oh my God, my thighs. Oh, didn't realize, and I hear this a lot from women. I didn't even realize I looked like that. And suddenly
mm.
I saw the picture, right? That's another form of body checking.
Sure, photos are a very big form of it. I mean, I wish I had $1 for every one of our listeners who unfortunately avoids being in photos.
Yeah.
And I want to stay on topic, but I will say about photos, because I know we've talked about it in other episodes. Um, they are really just of your essence. And the people you love are going to be very sad one day if they don't have any of you, or if all the family pictures have everybody but you, or if you were behind the camera on all of the photos. People are very happy to see on social media, oh, look at that. They went to a show. Isn't that nice? They'd rather see you going to that show, not just a playbill. Who cares, right? So
Yeah.
it's really about just owning, like, yes, this is me, this is my essence, and this is what it kind of looks like today. And isn't that great? Yeah.
I love that. I think we should like have personal public service announcements for that everywhere we go. Like you go to a wedding, here's a public service announcement that we want you in the picture just as you are, right?
You
Just
bet.
out
You
in the
bet.
world. Here you are at a family reunion. Yes, we want you, not hiding in the back. We absolutely need that reminder.
So going back to this idea of what we're calling the shirt tug, you realize, of course, that who we think we are, what we think we look like, how that enters into who we are in the totality of being a human being is contributed to so much by diet culture. It's contributed to simply by watching a TV commercial. It's contributed to by social media, but it's also contributed to, not blaming here anyone. You're free to throw people under the bus if you want, but that's not our job. The homes in which we've grown up in. And
Yes.
I'm just naming it, right? Because if we come at this with compassion and with empathy, the people we grew up with, our caregivers, our parents, also were exposed to whatever they were exposed to.
Oh my
If
gosh,
you're
Jenny,
one of those rare, yeah,
I have to tell you a story of the
yes,
client that I
please.
met with, a new client I met with this week. And she said, I don't understand why I care so much about what everybody else thinks of my body. I really don't. Like, nobody, my whole life, and she's like 50s or
Mm,
somewhere around there. And she said, my whole life, nobody's criticized me. Nobody's told me I should lose weight. Nobody's bullied me for it. And then we start unpacking a little bit of her history around food and the examples she had. And sure enough, both of her parents would comment about their own bodies
yes.
and about what was wrong with their bodies and how they looked in clothes and how it wasn't acceptable. So nobody had to say it to her directly, you are a problem. But she sucked that up and went, oh, I
I'll give you
better
I'll
be
give you
perfect.
another example of this that I hear all the time in sessions, which is that I have parents who are practically in tears saying things like, "But you don't understand. I go out of my way not to say anything, and I don't say anything about their body. I literally don't say anything." Right, but what it turns out they do is they comment on other people's body size, not
Yes,
their children, right? And what their
yes.
children are left with, whether it's age 5 or 50, what their children are left with was, I wonder if he or she is talking about me when I'm not
Yes,
in the room. Do they
right.
secretly feel that way about me, right?
Absolutely. And here's an opportunity for another public service announcement. Please don't comment on other people's bodies.
Right.
It doesn't help anybody. And the people who you're with then feel exactly like you just said, Jenny, which is, oh my gosh, are they talking about me when I go away? Is that how they feel about me?
Mm.
Right? Is that the value of someone? Is their size and their appearance?
This brings up something else. It's a big conversation, but I think we can certainly start it and touch on it, which is this entire concept of health at every size. I think it's misunderstood. And there's lots of aspects to it, lots of definitions, but to keep life simple, you don't have to be a size, period, end of sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And we live in a culture, our country, the world, where there's a value placed on body size.
Yeah.
And it's about understanding how that is human frailty at work, that we look at the appearance of things. And it's also about reminding ourselves that hopefully we have some sense of body autonomy. And what that means is do what you want and keep checking in. Is what I'm doing serving me? Is what I'm doing an act of compassion, an act of kindness to me, an act of love to me?
Mm-hmm.
Am I secretly saying stuff to myself all the time about how I look, but I wouldn't dare say it to the rest of the world because then they would think badly of me, right? I mean, all of that. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine how much energy it takes. You need to feel comfortable in your body. And if you really look at the cycle of your life, whether you are 25 now, 45, or 75, if you look at the cycle of your life, and can you find a time on the timeline when you are actually happy in your body? I bet the answer is kind of, well, not really.
I hear that all the time. I ask, was there a time? Was
Mm.
there a time where you felt like you were
Yeah.
at home in your body? And people, I honestly don't remember. I don't remember
Folks
that.
that I've worked with know that I do this, and if you're listening, then you know. We have this little exercise where at some point I asked them to bring a photo from at various points of their timeline, starting, with infancy if they wish, and kind of every 5 years, every 10 years, so they wind up with a montage of maybe 20, 30 pictures, depending on what, and then they get extra points if they put other members of their family in those pictures. But it's a very interesting thing. It's not to see, oh, how did your body size change? I hope it changed from age 4. It's not that. It's not that. It's really about getting back in touch with the essence of who you are
Mm-hmm.
at every one of those points on the timeline, because it's the same person. It's the
Yeah.
same eyes looking out of those eyes. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
ears listening. Maybe they don't hear quite as well, but it's the same you. And
Yeah.
really just finally seeing yourself for exactly who you are in
Well,
all of
what you're
your
talking
beauties.
about, yeah, what you're talking about is knowing our intrinsic value, knowing our intrinsic worth, versus buying into the cultural I- idea that our worth is equal to our size. If we have a smaller size, if we have a specific type of body, then it makes us more worthy. And one of the pieces that we keep looping back in is this sense of comparison, right? What does the world think of me? How do I measure up? When I walk into a room of people, am I suddenly tugging my shirt more because, well, their body doesn't show any curves, any roundness, any lumps and bumps and things that make them actually a human being.
Hmm.
Their
Well,
body is like, looks like the magazine.
and let's talk about shame, because
Mm,
there is, I think, for most, a sense of shame
yeah,
when they think they look a certain way, or perhaps they've been bullied at different points in their lives about some aspect of their appearance.
yeah,
And along with shame, we have to name trauma.
yeah,
You know, Many have been through some form of trauma, and that's a much bigger conversation than today. But many have been through trauma, whether it's verbal, whether it is physical, sexual, emotional, all kinds of different trauma. Death is trauma. But there are sometimes trauma related to our bodies, and those are the areas that we hide.
Yeah.
And so it's something to think about because it's about also working through that trauma so that your body doesn't have to carry that and
Yep.
carry the trauma all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how quickly, right? We've just been talking for, I don't know, about 15 minutes, and right away we start with this self-consciousness that shows up on the surface, right? That shirt tug, and right away we're deep into places of around shame, around trauma, around comparison, these deep relational issues that come up
Yes.
around our relationship with our body. And I want to kind of bring it a little bit more into the surface of getting dressed in the morning and
Mm,
choosing. What are we choosing? You know, one of the things I often talk about with clients is when they open their closet, do they have a closet that yells at them?
mm.
Right? That immediately
Great
as they're
phrase.
opening that door, do they have a closet that's going, you're not the right size? And are we choosing clothes that continue the conversation, that perpetuate the conversation that our body is not okay? And can we instead choose clothes that will make us feel free and relaxed in our body? And I'll use a really personal example. It's the fall now, and I'm looking, I mostly wear dresses. It's just my thing that I do. And so I was looking for a sweater dress online.
Mm.
And I was looking at these sweater dresses, and of course, the models are much smaller than my body in the pictures. And I wonder now if they're actually real or they're AI, which is a whole other conversation about what we're actually
At the very
seeing.
least, they're brushed, but yes.
Right,
Okay.
at the very least, they're brushed, but many of these are like, here's the style, we'll put them on this AI model, whatever. So I'm looking at it, and then I thought, you know, some of these look cozy, but they're going to cling to my body. And as
Mm-hmm.
much work as I've done on myself, and as much as I feel truly at home and relaxed in my body, having something very snug and clingy is going to trigger old sense of self-consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So do I want to actually put myself in that position? No. I want to feel relaxed. I want to feel not activated around my self-consciousness.
This is fascinating. First of all, thank you for talking about that so intimately, and it really brings up a lot of things because there are those who would say, "Well, screw it, you should just wear what you want, and
Right.
who cares, and all that," right? Which is true.
It is true.
And the other element of this is, what if you're comfortable in? Like, just what if you're not comfortable, like only, oh, I'll be comfortable with what other people think of what I'm wearing, but just physical comfort. What feels good? I can't tell you how many people walk around the planet all day long in clothes that feel like, they just can't wait to rip them off at the end of I mean, separate
I
from
know.
for neurodivergent issues. I mean,
Yeah.
they just can't wait to rip them off because they're either too tight or they're not fitting properly, or it's a look that you think might be more youthful or think might be this thing or that thing, and then they're just like, oh my god, please let me just take this off. The idea is to feel good in what
Yeah.
you get dressed in. I don't care if it's a sack, whatever it is, right? To feel good in it. And I also want to name here just this idea of financial privilege, because there are folks listening who may say, look, you're right. My closet does yell at me, and it looks like a department store because I have a little bit of every size I've ever worn, and probably none of them are the right size. However, it's too costly for me to go out and go get a complete new wardrobe every time I, gain 10 or 20 pounds, right? So there's naming that, and there's ways for you to just feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I think most people would also say that when they get dressed in the morning, that or in the evening if you work a night shift, that they are in uniforms. Like they sort of they have a uniform. They may have 40 pieces of clothing in their closet, and there's the same five that they keep wearing. And everything they buy looks exactly the same because they at least know, okay, I don't love it, but it's what I know.
Yeah.
You know, again, we don't care how you look. It's really about you feeling okay to just be in your life, be in your world, be in your body, be in your essence, to be your best self, to just create and do and be and love and to be loved. And, isn't that the idea at the end of the day?
It is. And I'm going to say, like, I love, I'm nodding. I'm like, yes, absolutely, 100%. And you and I both sit with clients all day long, every day, that say, I'm not feeling it. I'm not able to just flick that switch and say, now I love my body, which is partly why I say that body love is a bit aspirational. It's why I'm a big body peace believer, is
Mm,
that, like, okay, now I'm supposed to love my body. There's not, I really have worked very hard over many decades to feel at home in my body. And still, there'll be days I wake up with sounding, hoarse. I'm thinking, like today, wondering, I don't feel so great. Maybe something's going on. I'm not
mm,
in super duper love with my body, but you know what? Bodies go through stuff. They get viruses, they get stuff. And I'm not going to be aggressive with myself because my body isn't conforming to the way that I
mhm.
wish it would, right? That's what a flexible relationship is. So I think what's more realistic for many people is, how do I come into body compassion? How do I come into a place of feeling like I can roll with the ups and downs of actual everyday life living in a body? It's the only one we get.
You just said something that really made me think, which is such a rare thing, but you just said about flexible relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not only with our own bodies, right? When we are feeling flexible in relationship to ourselves, guess what else happens? Other relationships become less rigid
Mm-hmm.
and more flexible, whether it's a partner, whether it's your children, siblings, coworkers, friends, whoever it is. There's a rigidity that we can walk around with when we feel less than, when we
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable, when we feel judged.
Yeah.
And imagine when you have a flexibility to say, you know what? I really have to remember that this body that I keep complaining about, this is the body that houses my exquisite brain. This is the
Mm-hmm.
body that's been through stuff. This is the body that's gotten me through things. This is the body, fill in the blank, whatever it is for you. It's about just listening for a moment and taking stock of what your accomplishments are. No one wants to deny your feelings. If you really feel the way you feel about yourself, of course you're entitled to feel that way. It's just that it's sucky. So we're offering something
Yes,
different.
it is.
It
It
is.
truly
It just
is.
sucks. So
It
we're
does.
offering something different, which is to just take a moment. Is yours a body, for instance, that may have chosen or have been fortunate enough to give birth? That's,
Mm-hmm.
certainly a miraculous event. Is yours a body that has an exquisite brain that happens to be in there that touches lives? Is yours a body that has in it, an exquisite heart that also touches people? I mean, those are
Yeah.
just a few examples, right?
No, it's exquisite. And what I hear, and when you're saying that, is this sense of softening, softening the relationship. I'll just write down the time.
We're going to have to cut here and then come
Yeah,
back, right? Of
but
course.
I'll come back to what I hear you saying. Hold on.
So sorry.
No.
Jedi, come here. Jedi, come here. Jedi? Jedi, go to your bed. Come here, baby. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
It's ridiculous.
It's like I'm really missing out. You think we're good?
I think I think we're okay. All right.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
we're no,
So I'll
we're
just mark the time.
okay. 23:45. 6, 7.
So what I hear you say is this sense of softening in the relationship that we have with our body, a sense of being gentle with ourselves, and that when we are gentle with ourselves, there's a way that we can relax, because we need to name that all of this body checking, all of the shirt tugging, all of this self-consciousness is stressful. And when we're in stress, we don't actually get to relax. And when we don't get to relax, we don't get to experience pleasure. So if you're in this place of tightness with yourself and aggressiveness with yourself, you're not this sense of like, oh, this is a good place to be. I can experience pleasure. I can experience sensation. I can be sensual. I can even enjoy my sexuality more, which is a whole other podcast episode. But
Yes.
what we're starting with here, which is so important, is this softening.
Yes, it is a softening, isn't it? And it's also about acceptance. And, this word, we've talked about this before, but I don't think we can talk about it enough times. Acceptance is not, surrendering, giving in, resigning. Acceptance is, this is exactly who I am in this moment. I can't be any different than I am in this moment. And I am who I am right now, right here. And it's about, not beating yourself up all the time, every waking moment. And, we've both met with groups and individuals who say, yeah, but if I could just be in a different body, if I could just be in a smaller body, or this body, or that body. And we fill in that blank by saying, and yes, if you were in a different body, what would happen? Well, I would feel better about myself. Well, okay. Listen, be in whatever body you want to be in, but there's lots of evidence as you look at the photos of your entire lifespan, you were not any happier over there. In fact, maybe when you were in some other sized body than what you're in now, you were a very worried person, worrying about, am I ever going to not be in this size body? So
Yeah.
again, it's just about letting go, momentarily letting go, and
Yeah.
just being in your moment, whatever that is, whether it's a relationship, whether it's in some contributions that you make, work that you do. Why is the planet different for your being here? That's a question I ask myself all the time. Sometimes I have an answer, sometimes it's comical, but sometimes I have an answer, right? Is the planet different from my having been here?
That's a beautiful place for us to wrap up. And so many uh, important, juicy nuggets to take away, right?
Mm.
About being in relationship to our body in a way that is not so aggressive, not so microscopically examining and checking and really looking for what's wrong, but rather looking for our gifts.
Yes, and not to make anybody self-conscious, but I'd like to put a little challenge out there. When you catch yourself doing the shirt tug, see if you can say to yourself, oh, there that is again. Right. Okay. Not today. Just not today. Start with one day at a time.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jennie.
Thank you, Nina. We're so glad you joined us on this episode of Body Peace.
Stay connected as we continue exploring what it means to live in your body with more ease, trust, and care by subscribing to Body Peace on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen.
Be sure to visit us at bodypeacepodcast.com for special bonus content for those on our mailing list.